The following is an EHC media production.
Hi everyone, Ep2 here, and just want to let you know about my two YouTube channels that you might like. First, I have a WWE related channel. I play WWE games, I talk about WWE, the real product and all that sort of stuff. And the other channel, I just play a wider variety of games. The links are in the description of this video, so please head on over and check me out. Thanks very much.
You can't just say, hey, I'm a wrestler. There has to be a lot of work involved and a lot of training.
This is really what I should be doing.
He is known as Big Thing.
Big Thing? It should be Big Fat Thing!
I don't know how this loser got a shot with me. I'm the champ.
It's all over for you.
I'm gonna make you sorry you ever stepped in the ring.
Join two regular guys as they try to break into big-time professional wrestling. Rent or buy this hilarious comedy at FloridaBushLeagueWrestling.com.
What's going on, RWT family? This is your host of Smack Talk, Moses Marquez, and I'll be coming at you each and every Wednesday with a new episode of Smack Talk where I give my review and recap of SmackDown Live. I am here for you, my listeners. So if you have any questions for me that you want me to answer on the show, please feel free to message me following SmackDown Live, and I will do the best I can to get your questions answered. This has been your host of Smack Talk, Moses Marquez, and we'll see you around the bend, boys and girls. Hope to catch you on Wednesday.
The following program contains scenes of violence. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the RWT podcast.
Why, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world listening to this. My name is Emir Black Bang Costello, and I am the host of the RWT podcast. My. What a week it has been. So we are fresh off the heels of what was dubbed the greatest Royal Rumble. And I gotta say, I flirted with the idea of flying to Saudi Arabia to see the greatest Royal Rumble. Just me, though, not my bank account. My bank account knew right away it would never happen. Also, my anxiety was like, you barely made it on the plane ride to WrestleMania, and you struggled on the plane ride home. Why would you try to fly, 14, 17, I don't know how many hours it is to Saudi Arabia, even if you had the money? And the answer is, I wouldn't. But the other answer is, I'm glad I didn't, because I did enjoy the pay-per-view, I did. But sometimes, even when a pay-per-view is good, if you don't get the match outcomes that you want, you still kind of feel a little negative about it. And I think if I would have flown all the way to Saudi Arabia just to see Styles Nakamura 2 and to watch it end in a count out, Jesus Christ, I would have been very frustrated by that. So I'm glad I did not do that, nor did I ever have the possibility of doing so, because I'm poor. Anywho, speaking of plane rides home from WrestleMania, that was my second WrestleMania ever that I went to, WrestleMania 34, in New Orleans, and it was fantastic. And I wanted to stay the whole week, but I was not able to because I couldn't get things worked out with my schedule for work, so I had to come back after WrestleMania and not get to stay for the Raw after Mania or the SmackDown after Mania. But man, did that turn out to be a blessing in disguise, because on the way home from, I flew from New Orleans into Texas, and then I had to get on a connecting flight that was going to fly from Houston, Texas, into Los Angeles, where I live, Los Angeles, LA County, Long Beach, California, whatever. And so I walk in to the plane, feeling as anxious and apprehensive as ever because I'm thinking, this is it. One more time going up in the air, a couple hours and come back down. I will have survived. I will have made it out with my life. So I go, and of course my ticket, my seat's all the way in the back of the plane because I told my wife when she booked the flight, I said, listen, statistically, when a plane crashes, if anybody survives at all, it's usually the people that are in the very back. Now, I don't know why. I don't know if it's more fortified back there or what the deal is. I just know that if you care about your life and you're going to be on a plane, I mean, yeah, first class is amazing, right? There's a lot of space and blah, blah, blah. Also, everybody in first class dies all the time. The people who survive the crash, if one happens to take place, are the ones who sit in the very back. So that's where I was. So I walked to the very back of this large plane, and the space was so tiny. I'm kind of a big guy, kind of is perhaps an understatement. And my legs were all smushed up, and then this guy comes and sits next to me. And I'm kind of looking at this guy, and I'm sizing him up, and I'm like, man, this guy looks familiar, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And then I noticed he had the cauliflower ear, which is usually signifies that this person is an MMA fighter, mixed martial artist. And then so I thought to myself, God, this guy looks familiar. He's got the cauliflower ear going on, and I think I know him. And I said, hey man, are you you a fighter? And he goes, yeah, I am actually. And then he extends his hand and shakes my hand. And he goes, hey, my name is Mickey. And I said, oh man, it's nice to meet you. I said, you fight, that's really cool. He's like, yeah, man, thanks. I'm like, Mickey, I know that name. Where do I know that name from? And then I had this thought. I'm a huge wrestling mark. And one guy that I seem to miss a lot is Chick Magnet, or Chicago made, CM Punk. And I was thinking, CM Punk left WWE under strenuous terms, to say the least, and decided to jump into the world of mixed martial arts under the most popular MMA company around, known as UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship. And that was some, 2 odd years ago. He had one fight, after all the training and all the hype, and the fact that they put him on the video game and gave him a higher rating than people who had been doing, mixed martial arts for forever. But I get it. He's a celebrity, and, they figured his name and his character being on the game would help drive sales and blah, blah, blah. Anywho, so after all the dust settled and smoke cleared, he was finally ready for his first fight. And man, CM Punk, did he get mollywopped. I mean, he just got beat down, man. It was bad. It was bad. I've never seen his face look like that. I've never seen a man, so defeated. But I remember after the fight, CM Punk gave this really cool, this interview where he was just kind of like, yeah, I did my best, but, when you get knocked down, you got to get back up. Or he said something inspirational, and whatever he said made everybody kind of feel like, you know what? Yeah, you got beat up pretty bad, but you know what? Look at you. You got out there and did something that most people don't do, and you were brave. And even though you got beat up, you were gracious, and after the fight, you and the man that put you down on the mat, you guys hugged it out, and it was like a feel-good moment for CM Punk. Not physically, though. He didn't feel good physically. But I think everybody was rooting for him after the fact of like, yeah, I hope he tries this again. And, he was a very humble guy. And I think a lot of the, his peers in wrestling were really proud of him and stuff like that. And so that kind of triggered my memory. It was like, the guy that he fought, his name was Mickey. The guy that CM Punk fought and lost to was Mickey Gall. And so I thought to myself, holy crap, this is Mickey Gall sitting next to me. This is insane. And so I said, I didn't really want to bother him, but I said, hey, did you beat up CM Punk? And he was like, yeah, man, that was me. I was like, holy crap, dude, this is crazy. Just that weird moment where you find yourself sitting next to a celebrity on a plane, who could have ever anticipated it? And so I talked to Mickey for a bit, and then he went to sleep. He was exhausted. And when he woke up, we talked for a little bit longer, just about life and and what I do in my career, working in mental health and stuff like that. And then I took a little bit of a risk, and I said, because of course I'm thinking I got to get this guy to make an appearance on the show, but I don't want to sound like a fanboy, and he probably gets asked a billion times a day to do this kind of stuff. But the way that I'm wired, I always think to myself, if I don't ask, I'll regret not asking. Like, I don't want to inconvenience anybody. But what if he's cool? What if he says yes? And what if I never find out because I didn't have, the guts to ask? So I just go like, all right, I'm going to go for it. So I said, hey, Mickey, I don't even know if you're into this kind of thing. I said, but I got this podcast. And before I could get another word out, he goes, I'll do it. And I was like, what? This guy is so like insanely cool, down to earth. We talked some more, and even after he got off the plane, we had more conversation, and he was kind enough to say goodbye before he took off. But Mickey Gall agreed to come on the show, and sorry for the long-winded introduction, but that is who the guest is today. And I just had to kind of get all that out to let you guys know. For those of you that know him and follow his career, man, this guy, he's a good guy. He's a really like legit, down to earth, good guy. Probably give you the shirt off his back, which is really cool. I think it's cool that anytime I meet somebody or know of a person who's famous, who's making money, who has thousands upon thousands of followers on social media, but didn't let it go to their head. I always think, man, that's really cool when people are able to stay level-headed in that situation, because so many people are changed by money and fame and power and all that. But Mickey Gall is not the type. He's a fantastic guy. And so coming up after the break, you're going to hear me interview this guy. And we're going to talk about the CM Punk fight. And also, why was Mickey Gall on that plane? Because he was at WrestleMania the night before, just like I was. And you know what? Turns out it was his first ever WrestleMania. I'm not sure. We'll find out. We'll find out if it was his first WWE event. And we'll talk to him about what it was like to be in the crowd with the WWE Universe, okay? So, not to mention, I got a ton of questions from the RWT family members that I'm going to be throwing at Mickey about his past, about his present, and about his future. So coming up after the break, we'll come right in with Mickey Gall. I'm Emir Black Bang Costello, and we will be right back.
The superstars of Raw and the superstars of SmackDown Live combine forces.
Raw and SmackDown come together for a co-branded pay-per-view. WWE Backlash.
The best of both brands combined for one night. Two for the price of one. WWE Backlash, a co-branded pay-per-view on WWE Network. As always, free for new subscribers.
WWE, get in the ring. Seth Rollins with the flying knee. High flying, off the ropes insanity. Roman Reigns with the spear. Kinshasa. Oh, it's multi-man mayhem. Awesome.
Dad, is it my turn yet?
It's only been 10 minutes.
It's been 4 hours.
WWE figures, rings, championship titles, and masks each sold separately.
Hey guys, this is Brian Green here, your host of WinXT, your weekly insight into the who, what, when, where, why, how, what happened on NXT, and that's a pretty clever name, huh? I think I outdid myself with that one. I welcome your feedback so we can chat all the good, bad, and ugly coming out of Full Sail University, and how this important brand and everything surrounding it can change the future of wrestling forever, brother. Check out new episodes every Thursday on the RWT page, and I hope to see you later, dudes.
Thanks, Dana. You too.
You want to hear what that was about?
Yeah.
That's UFC fighter Mickey Gall getting a call from his boss, Dana White, this week in Cleveland. Gall fights former WWE star CM Punk Saturday Night UFC 203, and apparently Dana wasn't impressed with Gall's taste in walkout music.
I was going to do my walkout song, Hey Mickey, You're So Fine. What happened?
Really?
Yeah, because that would have been awesome. He's like, you want something harder.
You know that Mickey song, right? I won't sing it for you, but it goes something like, oh, Mickey, you're so fine, blah, blah, blah. That would have been funny to hear Saturday night, but this is just Gall's second fight in the UFC, so it's probably best that he listens to his boss.
Welcome back to the RWT podcast. And I don't know. I don't think that advice was taken. I got Mickey Gall on the line, and that clip that we all just heard was him in a car describing that Dana White was not a fan of his walkout music. But for all those who saw his fight against CM Punk, he walked out to it anyways. What's going on, Mickey?
What's up, buddy? Nice to talk to you. Yeah, for those who don't know, we sat next to each other on a flight, right? Did you talk about that?
Just in the introduction for the show, I actually told that whole story. Just my surprise.
When I was asleep on the flight next to you, I was trying to sleep on your shoulder the whole ride.
I didn't mention that part, but there it is.
I was exhausted. I was up all night. That was right after WrestleMania.
Yeah, man. So why were you so tired?
Well, so actually, I had a pretty crazy weekend. I'm in LA right now, and I went from LA. I drove into Vegas, and then we had some fun in Vegas Friday night, and then had some fun in Vegas Saturday morning, and then I took a flight at midnight to WrestleMania out of Vegas, which was WrestleMania was in New Orleans. So then I got my little sleep on the flight, and then I immediately got up, went at breakfast, and I was sleeping in the airport for a minute. I went at breakfast with Joe DeFranco out in New Orleans, and then WrestleMania, which was a freaking blast. We had a whole lot of fun there, and then I had a flight right from there. So not a lot of sleep. All my sleep was on flights. No sleeping normal that weekend.
Okay, so when I left New Orleans, and I was on some flight that went from New Orleans to Houston, and then literally I landed in Houston, and I had maybe 10 minutes to get on the connecting flight. Were you on the same flight as me going into Houston, or were you already there?
I could have been on that flight too. I don't even know, bro. It was, you know what I'm saying? It was a hectic weekend.
Yeah, I was saying in the introduction to the show, the reason why I ended up in the seat all the way in the back is because I'm terrified to fly, mostly because I'm terrified to die, and I just kind of assume since I'm on the plane it's going down. Sorry to the other passengers. Yeah. And I looked at the statistics, and it turns out that when a plane crashes, the people who usually survive are the ones that are sitting all the way in the back.
Nice. All right, very cool anyway.
You probably just chose whatever seat, right? You don't have those type of fears.
Yeah, you're real fine. All right, so check this out. Right, here's a statistic that should make you not afraid to fly, okay?
All right.
Pick any 12-year-old kid. Do you know a kid who's 12, anywhere around that? Any kid in your life is 12 years old.
Yeah, well, my daughter is actually 11. She'll be 12 in September.
Perfect. So it's more likely that she becomes the president than for you to die in a plane crash. It's more likely that a random 11 or 12-year-old that you select in your life becomes president of the United States than for you to die in a plane crash. Now, I don't know how smart or political your daughter is, but I'm just saying it's relatively unlikely, right?
Yeah, for her to be president. No offense to her. I mean, of course, I teach her she can shoot for the stars, and she does actually. She has a 4.0.
Exactly, but that's not even the point. I'm sure she's fantastic, but that's what I'm saying. You don't need to be scared of me, or you don't have to be scared, buddy. You're not dying in a plane crash. I promise. Not on my watch.
Okay, Mickey. Now, trust me. I believe you can protect me, but I just got to say this: that woman a couple weeks ago that got sucked out of the airplane and lost her life. See,
what airplane?
She was. It was a United. No, it was a Southwest flight.
Someone got sucked out of United?
No, Southwest. Okay, look, she's sitting there by the wing, and the engine exploded, and shrapnel busted her window out, and she got sucked out of the window halfway and had a heart attack. And the other people on the plane pulled her back in, and the pilot managed to get the plane landed, but she died anyway, probably because she was terrified. And you weren't sitting next to her to protect her, so it's kind of it was a bad situation, you know?
Totally. Yeah, that stinks. I think private planes are where people die in plane crashes. I don't think usually these commercials, that one you said are rare. I think a rare occurrence. But yeah, I think we're pretty good in airplanes. At least that's what I'm telling myself.
All right, I'm gonna do it again, brother. Actually, my wife and kids and I are flying to DC and then driving into New York this July for a little family vacation. So I'm gonna risk it, man.
Very cool. We're going to my neck of the woods, huh? East Coast.
So are you? So you're from East Coast?
Yeah, I'm from New Jersey. I've just been in LA for like the past month or two training, but yeah, I'm a Jersey boy for sure.
That's fantastic, man. So Jersey, is that known for being a big fight town? Like, how'd you get into MMA? How'd you, because I know you got a really good jiu-jitsu background and everything. Like, what made you want to fight?
Growing up, like I played all the sports, football, baseball, basketball. I was a captain of my football team in high school. But during high school is when I started doing jiu-jitsu. I'd boxed a little bit before. And, everyone from Jersey thinks they're tough. So, you find it, you get some huckleberries to test your skills with. And then, I started training. I took it seriously. I loved the sport. Once I started doing it, I was like, oh, this is MMA is like the ultimate sport, And yeah, that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, man, it's definitely garnered a lot of popularity. See, when I was a kid, I used to watch UFC. Now, I'm an '80s baby, grew up in the '90s, and so I grew up watching Hoist Gracie. You know that guy?
Of course, yeah. I talked to Hoist a couple times. He's a man.
Holy crap! Yeah, man, I remember that guy. When I used to watch him fight, he would never get he never got overly hyped or anything. He was very calm. His face, his expression never changed, but he also just wouldn't lose. I felt like nobody really could find a way to beat Hoist Gracie.
Hoist Gracie was so ahead of his time. He was doing jiu-jitsu when the world hadn't really known about jiu-jitsu. When there was only like a handful of great jiu-jitsu practitioners, and being the Gracie family, that's where Brazilian jiu-jitsu comes from. So he's, right from the source. So he's some of the best at that time. When no one was, now everyone and their mom's doing jiu-jitsu, but back then not a lot of people were doing it. And he would just dominate and destroy these people.
And how about this? A guy like you that fights in trunks, and a lot of people fight in trunks. But Hoist Gracie fighting in a gi. So I thought.
Yeah, that's. I think he was doing that to kind of send almost like as an advertisement for jiu-jitsu. That's what a lot of jiu-jitsu is practiced in. And I think the gi is great. That's it really slows down the game and makes it more of a chess match than it's a great practice, I believe, tool. I came up using the gi, but now I don't. You're not even allowed to wear the gi in there.
Oh, okay. So I didn't realize that the rules had changed like that.
Nowadays.
Right. Some other guys from that time, Dan the Beast Severin, and then Ken Shamrock, and those are guys who then crossed over into WWF at the time.
What do you think about me crossing over to WWE one of these days?
Let me tell you, man. I got some fan questions for you from the group that I'll ask you a little bit later, and I think one of the people in the group asked that question.
Say it again?
Yeah, I was saying I believe one of the guys in the group had that very question for you.
Yeah, man. This is my first time going to WrestleMania, and I've been following wrestling. I was a huge fan as a kid, and I was a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. Me and my friends would get together. We'd wrestle on people's trampolines, throw each other off, hurt each other. I chipped my teeth wrestling, screwing around as a kid. But then I got a little away from it. I was watching other sports more, and then but lately, man, I just watched that Royal Rumble the other day at my friend's house down in Venice. I'm getting back into it, man. It's fun. I like the fans. I like how into it they get. I like how they appreciate the storylines of it, and then obviously like the show. It's a good show, man. It's fun. They get in there, smacking people, throwing people, jumping off the stuff on top of people. It's very electrifying, and I gotta say, I got mad love from all the wrestling fans. I couldn't walk 5 steps without someone stopping me, saying hi, taking a picture, and everyone was so cool. I was a little worried. I was like, damn, these dudes might be CM Punk fans. They might not like me being here, but everyone gave me mad love. I got mad love.
Bro, yeah, okay, so I know not too long ago you fought against Randy Brown, and in the interview after that match, that was something that he mentioned. Two things that he mentioned that I thought were awesome, and too bad for him. One, his home crowd cheered you and booed him, and he was hurt about that. And the other thing is, he was like, this guy's got all the love from the WWE fans. And so I was going to ask you, did you always get love from WWE fans, or did that happen after your CM Punk fight?
I got more love after the CM Punk fight, but I think also a lot of people wanted to see me beat him up leading up to the fight. It's interesting the way things work, you know. CM Punk was the big star. I was like a no-name kid at that point. So everyone wanted to see me do good. I was getting a lot of love. I wasn't even getting that much hate, you know. But then the more you grow and climb, like then I started beating. Then after I beat him, you know, I beat Sage, and then and during the Sage Northcutt fight, everyone wanted to see me take out the big name again. And then I became the big name, and then they don't want to see you do as good. They want to tear you down a little bit. But it's you know, that's just an interesting introspection into people. But it's, you know, it's cool. Like I have so many like nice people that just want to say nice things, give you support, have your back, and you know, I'm fortunate for that. But also, so 2 days later, after I had a fantastic time at WrestleMania, I read this article that someone wrote. Are you familiar with the Wrestling Observer?
Absolutely.
All right, so the Wrestling Observer newsletter, you know about that?
Absolutely, I get a lot of news from there, man.
Dude, well, guess what? They do some fake news too.
Do they?
You gotta be careful. Hell yeah. They wrote this. Hold on, I'm staying on the line. I'm gonna pull up some of this article, and we're gonna have a good laugh. Hold on.
We got everybody listening. We got a live breaking news coming in from Mickey Gall. He's getting ready to expose the Wrestling Observer.
Oh yeah, they're about to get lit up on talking some bullshit. We're allowed to curse on this, right?
Oh yeah, man, fuck it, go for it.
Fuck it, alright, cool. Alright, where is this thing? Let me see, they put on. Oh, here it is. Alright. So ready? This is so funny, just cracked me up. I'm gonna read their story, and then we're gonna talk about as we go through it. UFC fighter caused a scene backstage at WrestleMania after party, and they're referring to me. They go, a lot of people go to UFC after party because it's a pretty exclusive event. This year's main after party in New Orleans is no exception, but it turns out some people might not have been there for fun. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Mickey Gall was there, and people said he was acting like a jerk. This is the same guy who defeated CM Punk in his first UFC fight and was reportedly walking around yelling about how he's not signing any more autographs. Bro, could you imagine that? Now, I know you don't know me that well, but I showed this to like a few people, and they're like, dude, what? Like, I get recognized pretty much every single day. People come up, say hi to me. I've never had a bad experience. I've even had a kid say like, yo, why'd you have to beat CM Punk like that? Like, why'd you do that? And then by the end, he was giving me a hug, and I've never had like an unpleasant experience. But they're saying I'm walking around like, yeah, no more autographs. Like, that would never happen. I took probably 100 pictures, and I had fun with it from the beginning to the end. And I already checked this part out. I got some more stuff. And then they go, apparently he and his entourage stirred up enough trouble. Now, the entourage I was with was like a husband and a wife. I was there with like two sets of like husband and wife, like professional, like people who were there as guests as Triple H, because it was like it's Joe DeFranco. Triple H is like Triple H is Stephanie McMahon's strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah, I see them. I see them working out like midnight all the time. They're always working out in the middle of the night.
Yeah, they're the best. Joe's the best. But then, then they were like, and apparently, he and his entourage stirred up enough trouble that they were waiting for someone to get in their faces and say something to them, but nobody did. Gall then went outside and started screaming at everyone. Like it was like, obviously there's no video on this. There's no video, no nothing. It's funny how I don't know who wrote the article, but I'd love to hear where his sources are from. I think this is some of that typical just fake news. They just let anyone write articles nowadays. People can say whatever they want. You know, this is one of my first ones actually that I was like, yo, what the heck is this? Like, this is completely erroneous. Total bullshit.
Okay, this is what I'll say about you, Mickey Gall. Okay, first of all, I'm some random kid seated on an airplane, and I'm looking at you, and I'm like, I know this guy. And so then I go, well, should I bother him? Because some celebrities don't want to be bothered. But then I go, you know what? I'm gonna say something. You were incredibly nice. Now you don't know me. You don't owe me anything. But then I had to work up the nerve to ask you to come on my show, which, by the way, wasn't easy. The whole time you were catching some Z's there because you had a wild weekend. I was thinking to myself,
oh, yeah.
I'm going to ask him. No, I'm not. I'm not going to bother. Okay, I'm going to. And then so I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do it. And then before I could even finish the question, you're like, I'll do it. So gracious of you. And then when we got off the plane, we went our separate ways, but we ended up being in the same like vicinity of each other outside. And then you realized that your ride was actually upstairs. They went to the wrong place to pick you up, and you took the time to come over to me and say goodbye, which totally made my day. So my personal interaction with you, I'm blown away by how humble you are. And when I hear a story like that from the Wrestling Observer, I'm really taken aback. Like, I don't know who they were talking about, man, but it wasn't Mickey Gall.
Yeah, I don't know. I a part of me is even like, ooh, maybe I should go into it and I'll be a heel. But it's total BS. And yeah, I'm glad you said hi. And anyone listening to this, you ever see me, always feel comfortable to come say hi, and I'll always say hi back. Always happy to take a picture, say hi, talk. I'm not one of those jaded douchebags who like someone comes up and you're bothering me. Nah, man, this is all new to me still. I'm happy. I feel very fortunate that people all over the world know who I am. So I'm always happy to say hi and shake a hand, take a picture, or whatever it is. I'm just a person just like everyone else. It's cool.
That's good, man. And that's good that you cleared it up, because the reality is this. You got to stand up for yourself. There's a guy, the godfather of podcasting. His name is Adam Carolla. And I actually met him last weekend. I went to one of his live shows, and I got a chance to take a picture with him and stuff. And one of the quotes that he always says is, you don't realize how wrong people get the news until they write a story about you. Like, when you're just listening to the news, you kind of, like, as a spectator, you go, wow, Mickey Gall did that? That's crazy. But when you're Mickey Gall, you go like,
what a jerk.
Yeah, but when you're Mickey Gall, you go, that's not what happened at all. But see, most people don't realize how wrong the news is until a story's been written about them, you know?
Yeah, I get it, man. It's clickbait. People they get money for every click they get, so they gotta make up some shit, you know? But, I don't know. Honestly, I kind of got a kick out of it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was so... it was like there wasn't even like, oh, I see how they could have thought that because of this. We were just smiling and having a good time the whole night, taking pictures, just having a good time. I wonder. I don't know. I seriously, I think they're maybe trying to help me out, set me up as a heel one of these days.
Well, here's the thing. They might be hard pressed to do that because you are a fun-loving guy who likes to have a good time. So there's a show called Looking for a Fight. Dana White does the show, right? And so he's sitting, well, in wrestling it's called, in boxing it's called ringside. I don't know in MMA, but he's there obviously and right there watching you in your debut and like your first pro fight ever. And he's jibber jabbering with his buddy about your fighting and how you look good, blah blah blah. And they're like, oh, we need to get this guy maybe some stiffer competition. And then you submitted your opponent, and like, by the way, everybody in the crowd had on your shirt, bro. I was like, look at this guy. So much support from the fans.
Stand up, man. I'm very lucky, very fortunate. I have a lot of great friends and family. East Coast people, Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. Like I have a lot of great support. So, yeah, they all came out, and that made me look really good. And I'm sure it's part of the reason why I am where I am today.
You walk out there, you're obviously, and you've stated as much in your interviews. You don't give in to pressure. You don't feel pressure. You're as cool as the other side of the pillow. So you walk out to fight. You're good to go. You submit your opponent, and then after the fight, in your debut match that you win, you walk over to Dana White, and you go, "Hey man, I want to fight CM Punk." Dana White's completely blown away. And so you walk off, his buddy walks back over and he goes, "You're not gonna believe what this kid just said to me. This kid just says I want CM Punk." And his friend's like, "Are you serious?" And Dana White's like, "On my life, I swear to God, that's what this kid just said to me." How do you get the confidence to say something like that?
So, I heard Dana White was going to be there about a month before the fight, and when I heard that, I immediately was like, all right, as an MMA fighter, the goal is to get into the UFC. That's the highest level. That's the NFL. That's the mecca of that's the WWE of fighting. That's the highest level. So I've seen a lot of great MMA fighters, stay in obscurity and not get noticed and not get to fight for the UFC. So I saw my shot. I saw my opportunity. I knew that one guy in the UFC who was 0-0, had no professional fights, and myself, I was about to be 1-0. I knew I was going to win this fight, and I was going to get a chance to talk. And on the microphone, I was like, I'm going to call out CM Punk. So I knew that if there's this thing in MMA, so we have commissions. We have the state athletic commission, and to get a fight approved, the fight has to make sense. So if I had called out, I'm going to call out Robbie Lawler, the UFC champion, who has 30 fights, Dana White would be like, "Oh, what are you kidding, kid? No way. You can't. You only have one fight." But an 0-0 versus a 1-0, that's a like record. That record's similar. So that fight actually happened. So I saw that. I saw my path, and I knew beating up CM Punk would get me to where I want to be. So that's how it went down.
I think it's really cool that they gave you, the opportunity because, obviously now you're uber famous, but like you said, at the time it was your first professional fight, and it takes guts, man, to walk up to Dana freaking White and go, "Yo, I want to fight CM Punk," because that's, at the time, it's probably, even with no MMA experience, based on his celebrity from WWE and every other wrestling promotion, what a huge signing for UFC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're walking up to...
he's a big celebrity,
Yeah, so you're telling the president of the company, "Look, you can trust me with the responsibility of having this guy, probably one of the biggest signings ever in UFC. You can trust me with the responsibility of getting on the stage with this guy and putting on a fight that's worth it, and it's going to turn out, it's going to be all good." I can't even imagine walking up to that guy saying hi, let alone saying, "Put this responsibility in my hands."
Hey, man, everybody's just a person. Remember that. Everybody gets up, takes a shit, brushes their teeth, farts, all that shit. We're all just people. Everyone's the same. No, yeah, never feel, that's what, never, I'm glad you didn't feel, overthink, saying hi to me, or we wouldn't be having this nice conversation. Always, never be afraid to talk to a person, go after it. If they're a dick, that's on them.
Man, I'm going to take that as advice because just like it took guts for you to approach Dana, it took guts for me to approach you, and I'm definitely glad I did it. And I'm glad
I did too, man. You're a nice kid, and I'm glad we both made a new friend that day.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Hey, speaking of friends, I got a couple friends at the RWT Raw Wrestling Talk group on Facebook. And they were aware that I was going to be doing this interview with you. Super excited about it. And I got a couple of fan questions I want to throw your way, man, and just see where your head is at with some of this stuff. All right. First question's coming from Moses Marquez. And Moses Marquez says, "Hey, Mickey Gall, who's your dream opponent?"
Dream opponent. Ah, man, I don't even know. Dream opponent. Well, actually, that's funny. So I answered this question once before. That in the UFC, they asked me. They said, "They said if you could fight anybody, living or dead, who would you want to fight?" So I had two answers. The first one was Bruce Lee, who obviously is dead, and the second one was The Rock. Dwayne The Rock Johnson. But now look, so I said that because I'm a big fan of both those guys. I just I don't really have I didn't have a great answer. But so I said Bruce Lee and The Rock, and then The Rock responded to that, and he was like, "Oh, I love this tough bastard." Blah blah blah. He started following me on Twitter, and then he was like, The Rock gave me mad love after then a couple days later, I fought my fight, and then he tweeted me again. He was like, "Yo, tequila's on me. Great job, blah blah blah." So I guess I'll keep saying The Rock and keep being my friend.
So that's one of those moments.
You say you want to fight someone, and then they become your friend. That's awesome. I love The Rock. I hope he becomes the next president.
I do too, man. I think that'd be fantastic. So, but here's the thing: you want to fight Rock in the octagon, or you want to get into a WWE ring and have a wrestling match?
Well, the question first posed was the octagon, but yeah, I do either one.
So the second question, coming from Daniel Crimmins, was just that. It's would you ever consider giving pro wrestling a try?
I would. I would. I would love to. You know, the more I've been really appreciating it more and more in the past few years. I loved it as a kid. I was obsessed with it as a kid, and then I got away from it. But yeah, I have some things I want to accomplish in fighting, and so to give the proper respect and the proper attention, I think would be hard. So I'm gonna keep busting my ass fighting, and then I'd eventually like to, I'm gonna start learning a little bit now about it, and yeah, I'd like to get into it one day. So hopefully you'll see me there one day.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely see you, man. And I'm willing to travel. So if you ever find yourself in the squared circle, as we call it, I'll be there, man. I'll be there to see it, and it'll be a pleasure.
My man.
Brian Green, who's the host of WinXT on the RWT YouTube channel, says, "Hey, Mickey Gall, being that the CM Punk fight was 2 years ago, how did that victory shape the last 2 years of your life and/or career?"
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, that kind of put me on the map. That was a high-profile fight, and it was short and sweet. It was just how I thought it would go. I completely dominated him, and he did nothing good. He didn't land anything on me. It was a one-sided victory, which I thought I needed to do to represent MMA as a real MMA fighter. And yeah, it's given me a tremendous amount of opportunities. Right after that, I called out Jake Northcutt. I got that fight and I beat him, and I just it got me to the next level. And here I am, ready to get another UFC fight soon, and just keep the ball going, and eventually be the champ.
Yeah, so, okay, that makes me think of a question of my own, because I got to wonder, okay, so a guy like Brock Lesnar started in WWE, then he left, went to UFC. I think Frank Mir submitted him, and then he won some fights, became champion, lost to Cain Velasquez. Then he comes back to WWE on like a part-time basis, but because he's Brock Lesnar, he immediately gets put over all the other people who are there working all the time, busting their butts. Now, CM Punk, he comes into UFC with WWE fame, and I gotta, wonder, do boys in the back have a problem with a big star coming in who's not a real MMA fighter getting that much attention?
Yes, I think everyone, but I think also everyone understands. It's the fact is, yes, everyone's kind of like, like what? This guy. I've been busting my ass in this sport for 10 years, 12 years, 20 years, and this guy gets the red carpet treatment right in. And I felt that made me feel an obligation to like my colleagues and my all the MMA guys, like that. I'm gonna whoop this dude's ass, and we'll give him the red carpet treatment to a bloody nose. You know what I'm saying? I got to make sure I represent them. So yeah, but I also think people understand because he's a high-profile guy. He's going to bring a lot of eyes to our sport, the sport that we love. Wrestling fans, you guys love the entertainment, the violence, the action, and I think our two worlds are very similar. So I think it was a good business move by them, and I think any smart fighter would understand the move.
It does. It definitely brought a lot of WWE fans to look at the UFC, and it was clear when Punk walked out. I mean, you guys are in Cleveland, and the crowd still went nuts. He used his music from WWE and previous wrestling promotions. But see, the love is not always shown the other way, because fans of the UFC, I think sometimes they look at wrestling and they go, I don't watch that fake shit. So Harold Joseph Hunter III, who in the RWT group, he does this thing where he likes to watch matches and he gives his expert rating, you know, how many stars and blah, blah, blah. He says, hey, Mickey, do you think the influx of MMA stars to pro wrestling will help draw MMA fans?
MMA stars going into pro wrestling?
Yeah, do you think so, like guys like you who are willing to cross over
I think the crossover is good for everybody.
Right.
I think the crossover. Yeah, I understand the question. I think the crossover is good for everybody. I think it's good for. I think there's definitely a lot of similarities between UFC fans and WWE fans. We like violence. We like action. We like a good storyline. You know, we all that stuff. And that's, you know, that mano y mano. I think it all goes really hand in hand. So I think both sports will probably be, you know, helping each other grow forever.
Now, earlier you mentioned that I think you mentioned somebody with the last name Lawler.
Robbie Lawler, yeah.
But have you heard of the name?
He's at WWE.
Have you heard of the name Filthy Tom Lawler?
Yeah. He was a fighter.
Moses Marquez, host of Smack Talk and the Major League Show, wants to know, would you ever fight Filthy Tom Lawler? And if so, would you rather it be in the cage or in a wrestling ring?
Is he still fighting? I was a fan of his. I remember Filthy Tom Lawler. I don't think he's fighting in the UFC right now. So I think if there was a place for us to do it, it would probably be in a what do you call it, the squared circle?
Yeah, that's right.
I think it would probably be there.
By the way, when you asked earlier that I think that you would be good in a WWE ring, I do think you would be good because you talk a lot of shit.
Yeah, I like to talk that shit.
Yeah, man. That's why you would be good at it. You got that superstar smile, but you talk your fair share of shit. And what's cool about wrestling is everybody loves the bad guys. You know, nobody's that into the good guys. So I think as long as you could carry that. I mean, you're obviously a good guy in real life, but out there, you talk that shit, smile in your opponent's face, and then like with CM Punk, I mean, you made it clear from the beginning. You're like, I'm gonna beat this guy up, and you said it with a smile on your face, and then you beat him up. So if you do stuff like that in WWE, and you're gonna be just fine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's good advice, man, and I think I will. Also, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Could you guess who my favorite wrestler is?
Your favorite wrestler? Let's see. Wait, what?
I'm gonna give you a hint.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a hint. All right. My favorite wrestler right now is she's female and she's from New Jersey.
Female and from New Jersey. I don't even know which female. I'm just gonna guess. Alexa Bliss.
Close. Liv motherfucking Morgan.
Dude, she is so much fun,
Yo,
isn't
I'm a
she?
Riot Squad fan.
Yo, man, you know what? Liv Morgan, she looks like so much fun. She looks like the kind of girl that could probably ride a skateboard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel you. I know what you're saying.
Do you know her though? You know her personally?
I do know her. She trains with Joe DeFranco also, and she's a really sweet girl. She's funny. Yeah, definitely. If you guys don't know, I'm sure you do. Liv Morgan, yeah, she's a beast.
She's awesome, man. I'm a big fan of hers. She just got called up from NXT to the main roster, obviously on SmackDown, and she's been doing her thing, man.
They're on Raw now.
Oh, right, because of the superstar shakeup. Good, man. Yeah, I think she's really good. It's kind of funny because her and what's the other blonde girl? They have a similar look, but I like Liv Morgan better. And also, I was happy that she, and not to get into any drama, but when she got away from Enzo Amore, I thought that was pretty good because I didn't, it's a little bit of controversy there with her, and she was dating this other wrestler, and there was reports coming out about different shady things he was involved in, and I just thought, it's not good for her. Like, she's having the time of her life right now, and her career is budding. She needs positive vibes, you know what I mean?
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Matt Clark wants to know, what are your thoughts on Conor McGregor's future with MMA, UFC, or possibly the WWE?
Man, I don't know. I know he's right now he's the biggest name in MMA. So I think he does a few more MMA fights, and then who knows where he goes from there. I feel like I'd be surprised to see him do WWE. I think he's going to start his own promotion. I think he'll start his own MMA promotion and probably pay fighters to fight for him, and he'd be the boss. And I don't know. I guess there's that guy could do movies. He could do a lot of stuff.
I've just seen a report, and I don't know. It seemed to come from a credible site, but I don't know. Maybe it's fake, but it would appear that Floyd Money Mayweather has decided to challenge Conor McGregor to a second fight, but this time in the octagon.
Who knows? I would say don't believe that until we see something legit. And if Floyd Mayweather does it and fights UFC rules, he will get killed.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad.
I don't think he will. I might change it so they only do like punches or something, because that's what he does. He does punches. He does. But MMA is everything. So if you're just trained in one art, you're in trouble. You gotta be proficient in all of them. The ground, the wrestling, the kicking, the punch, everything. So I don't know, man. I wouldn't get too excited about that one yet.
I got one last question from a fan. There's a kid I know. His name is Flacco, and he's been training to be a boxer. Then he got his hands on the UFC video game, and of course MMA is everywhere. And he's decided he wants to cross over and learn some mixed martial arts. And this kid is he's going to be coming out of high school soon, and he's a beast, man. But he wants to know, like, you're Mickey Gall. Everybody's seen your physique. We know how hard you work. Like, what in regards to training or eating, or like, what does this guy have to do to get on the right track?
Well, if you're going to do MMA and you love it, you got to just do it as much as possible, because there's so much to learn that you just got to love. You got to live in the gym practically. You got to love learning. You got to love, getting beat up in the beginning and, learning how to prevent that, learning how to then do it to other people. And eating-wise, we train so much that you can, I eat a lot personally. But I do, especially around fight time, I eat very much more healthily, and I eat less. I'm as the Italians call, I'm a gabone. I'll crush up some food. I'll eat a whole bunch. But I'd say for MMA, you gotta do, like, I do 2-a-days almost every day. I do 2 practices a day most days. So you need your food to fuel your workouts.
Yeah, man. One of the things I've noticed, because I've been, obviously you saw what I look like, but I don't remember if I had a chance to mention it to you or not. But last year I actually lost 100 pounds.
Fuck yeah! Congrats, dude. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I used to weigh over 400 pounds. I don't know what was I thinking.
Wow.
Yeah, and so but one of the things that always really pissed me off, it's like watching guys like you and guys like The Rock, who you guys could. Like, in order to maintain your guys' muscle and stuff like that, you guys eat so much. Like, meanwhile, a guy like me, I'm trying to lose weight. If I even look at McDonald's, I gain 5 pounds. You know what I mean?
That's funny, dude. Yeah, so I'd say this. For a guy like you who's trying to lose weight, I'd say eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and then, like, lean proteins. And if you're going to do carbohydrates, little potato, sweet potato, rice, brown rice, stuff like that. So, if you're trying to lose weight, I'd say stay away from, like, the gluten, the breads. Gotta stay away from the sugar. Everybody should, for the most part. But yeah, protein. It's like lean protein and fruits and vegetables, and you're gonna lose another 100 pounds if you can.
Yeah, I think that's my goal. My goal is to get to 199. That'll be over 200 pounds lost, and I'm definitely gonna accomplish it.
Keep me posting this, man. I'm so proud of you already. I love that. I love to hear that. I think that's fucking awesome, dude.
Thanks, brother. So let's go ahead and wind it down, man. I gotta know. You see, what's coming up next for you, man? Who are the next opponents, or maybe a couple people that you're eyeing? Like, what's on the map for you?
I'm eyeing everybody on the way to the belt. But I think my next fight will be in July. I'm waiting to find out. Hopefully I'll have some answers on that ASAP. Any day now. But yeah, man. you catch me July, probably an international fight week, beating someone up.
Yeah, man, I think that would be fantastic. And here's one thing I'm gonna say to you, brother. Whether it's the next fight you have or the one after or somewhere in here, I'm gonna make it my business to travel to where you're at, and I'm gonna see you fight live, man, because I believe in you, and I'm a fan of yours, Mickey Gall.
Thanks, brother. Likewise.
I want to thank you so much for giving me your time today, my man.
Anytime, my friend, and I'll see you around. Cali, right?
Absolutely, brother. You have my word. I'm telling you, you need anything when you're in LA, I got your back, brother.
Thank you, my friend. Nice talking to you.
Well, there you have it, guys. That was my interview with UFC fighter Mickey Gall. And man, I gotta say, I'm super excited that guy came on the show. As you can see, he's very humble, fun-loving, and he does his fair share of shit-talking, but you gotta love a guy like that. And it would seem to me that the Wrestling Observer got their report wrong. So I'm happy that Mickey addressed that, and I'm sure we'll find out, not too soon, not too far, rather, down the line, what the Wrestling Observer has to say for themselves in those false reports. But that's the show for today. It's about time that I sign off and mosey on down the road. So make sure you guys subscribe to the RWT channel here so you can hear more awesome podcasts. We got some cool guests coming up, including Australian rapper Muggsy. He's got a lot of success with his music out there in Australia. Album dropped number 6 on the charts, and he's a huge fan of Kane. Kane, by the way, who won the first part of his race for governor, and now just has to defeat the Democrat in his area to become governor. But he defeated his Republican opponent. That's just some news on Kane. So anyways, Australian rapper Muggsy coming up and a couple of few on the next RWT podcast. And for all the new listeners as well, make sure you go to Facebook and type in RWT, Raw Wrestling Talk, and join the group. We got 3,300 some odd members, and we literally talk about wrestling all day because we have group members in all over the world, in so many countries, and of course plenty right here in the good old US of A, and on every coast and every time zone, and all we do is talk wrestling all the time. So join the group and then invite your friends and other fans, and let's keep the good times rolling. But that's all I got for you. So signing off for Mickey Gall, UFC fighter, I'm Emir Blackbane Costello. Thank you for tuning in to the RWT podcast, and I will catch you down the road.